That noise is the Minipresso machine making that noise. It's not me crying, although I feel like it. I'm Dan, and I've been designing kitchen gadgets for 40 years. I'm going to test some coffee gadgets and see if I can find a way to make them better. And close that filter. Do some sort of football shape. Make this a little friendlier. These are the products I'm going to test. Collapsible coffee press. Bripe coffee brew pipe. Unspillable mighty mug. Milk Froth Master. Minipresso espresso machine. Collapsible coffee press. It is designed to brew coffee on the go. Let's see how effective it is. So it's in its collapsed form here. I will open it up, unscrew the top, ready to fill. Boiling water, screw on the top. Now we're going to let it steep for about 3 minutes. Just a little disclaimer, while we're sitting here waiting for the coffee to brew, I don't like coffee very much. Although I don't enjoy coffee, I do like gadgets and I like designing them. And actually I've designed a couple of coffee gadgets. And let's invert this and start releasing the coffee. There's not a lot of pressure here. I'm just going slowly. That looks just about perfect. I don't know about this. This is literally the second cup of coffee I've ever had in my life. Oh man, that's great. Just kidding. I don't like it at all. But I think it actually worked pretty well. This is pretty easy to do, it's pretty seamless, and it's pretty effective. Coffee, not great. Collapsible coffee maker, pretty good. Let's see how it compares to a standard French press. So rather than let this coffee go to waste, I'm open-minded. Let's try it with some milk. Nope, no better. In terms of effectiveness, I would give the collapsible coffee press a 5 out of 5. I thought it was really easy to use. It made a great cup of coffee, I am told. Let's test its usability. By making my non-dominant hand slippery, it's going to highlight any design deficiencies. I don't think this is going to have any bias left or right. It's pretty symmetric and round. So the first thing I'll try doing is expanding it. And the next thing I'll do is unscrew this, and of course I'm using my right hand or left hand to do it. It's really two-handed operation here. It is a little slippery to open. It's a little smooth, but it's okay. I will fill with my left hand and start pressing. Whoops. It's a bit of a fault, and maybe it's because either I didn't tighten this because I was a little slippery and using my left hand, or maybe because I went down a little too quickly, but I did get some spill out the side. Not bad, but it was just a little bit of a mess. Let's see how this one tastes, this time with some milk and some sugar. I still don't get it. In terms of usability, I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5 because it was a little difficult to tighten, and once it's not fully tightened, there's spillage. Let's see how I would redesign this. First of all, opening this means you're pinching here, and boy, I think that could be a little more generous here to pull. I think I would look at somehow softening the edge here so it's not as much of a knife edge. Maybe open up this gap a little bit. It may be a little too hard to tighten. I think maybe I would curve that in a little bit. And what that would do is give a little more of a gap here for your finger. You can see this piece is coming across. If this is not tightened, you're going to get spillage, especially when you're pushing this under pressure. Coffee's going to just seep out as this is inverted and on top of your coffee cup. Give something to grab onto. It could either be something that actually juts out a bit, and I think it just needs to be a real subtle shape that juts out. But that would give you something to grab against as you're spinning and tightening. In spite of those improvements, I think this is a pretty good gadget. In terms of a buy rating, I would give the collapsible coffee press a 5 out of 5. I think I would recommend it to people. All in all, I think it's worth having. I wish I liked coffee as much as I like you. Bripe, coffee brew pipe. That's Bripe as in brew pipe. This is a pipe-like vessel for not only brewing coffee, but also drinking it. Let's see how effective it is. And I think that's enough. I filled it right to about there. Next, I'm ready to fill it with water and use the torch to start heating. So this may take somewhere between 1 minute and 3 minutes. I'm looking for a maximum temperature of 185 degrees. Not quite there yet. I am at 130, and we're just about at 185. And what we want to do next is let it sit till it gets down to about 140, maybe 130. So this will take a bit of time. One way to cool it down would be to pick up the Bripe and blow some bubbles. Yeah, that helped. At least it gives you something to do when you're waiting. And I'm using the straw to suck some coffee. Well, this time I got some coffee grounds, which is not tasting that good. And I think it is a little on the bitter side. Again, I'm not a coffee expert by any means, but I think the coffee has been in there just a little too long. Let's see how the Bripe compares to smoking a real pipe and drinking coffee like a cowboy. Just kidding, the Bripe is one of a kind. I really don't know what to compare it to. In terms of effectiveness, I would give the Bripe a 2 out of 5. I think it's got its rustic kind of backwoods charm, but there's just not enough coffee being made in this little copper cup. I'm going to try the left-handed oil test by making my non-dominant hand slippery. See if I can shake a reasonable amount in here. Add some water, insert the thermometer, and start heating. This has its sense of danger to it. I'm being very careful that my oiled up hands don't burst into flames. And it is time to stir the grounds and wait for the cool down. While I'm waiting, the good news is the oil is really moisturizing my hands. And let's take a sip. I'm a little more successful with not getting grounds in it this time. There's no trouble holding the cork with slippery hands or not, but the torch was a little tricky to hold with a slippery hand. In terms of usability, I would give this a 3 out of 5. It's not foolproof. It comes with a lot of parts and a lot of tricky measuring. Let's give this Bripe a redesign. I'm not sure I would mess with its kind of bizarre rustic charm. I would keep that as part of the DNA of the Bripe itself. But I think if I was going to look into anything, it would be making this filter more of a cup. I think I would enclose that filter. We want to seal that filter against the opening of the pipe, but I think this would give us the option of removing the grounds when we want to remove the grounds. I will say one of the problems with the test tube, it was actually a little bit difficult to accurately pour out. That can probably be solved with doing something like using a chopstick or something to slowly get the grounds. In terms of a buy rating, I would give the Bripe a 2 out of 5. The Bripe is a very specific gadget that's probably designed for some very specific people who may actually love it, but I bet it's a small percentage of the population that's out there. No hard feelings, buckaroo. You are what you are. Unspillable Mighty Mug. Its purpose in life is to hold your coffee upright, no matter how clumsy you may be. Let's see how effective it is. I am going to fill it with some coffee. It may look like magic, but the way this is working simply is there's a suction cup on the bottom that will maintain its suction if it's hit from the side. But if you pull it from the top, the suction is instantly released. One of the things I think we should test is, in addition to knocking it over, is how unspillable it is. And I'd say that's not bad. Oh, I'm getting a little bit of drip. But I guess that could be a little problematic if it does happen to fall over, or if it's on a surface that doesn't really take to the suction cup. It's effective in the fact that it's not tipping over, but I think this part of it, the actual sealing of the lid, would have added to its effectiveness. And let's give it a couple of elbow jabs. This would be great for use on my yacht, if I had a yacht. Now, I know what you're thinking. What does it take to actually knock it over? Like a full tackle? Okay, let's give it something. Whoa, I did it. Okay, it spilled. Although it didn't break. So it's not holding up to a full body slam, but still, I think for a casual, occasional knock to the side, I think it's pretty effective. Let's see how the unspillable Mighty Mug compares to a regular old spillable travel mug. In terms of effectiveness, I would give the Mighty Mug's unspillable capabilities a 5. It can be body slammed, but how often do you do that to your travel mugs? Let's test its usability. First thing I want to do is fill it, and I'm going to try unscrewing this with my left hand. That was a little slippery. I had to squeeze a little bit. Let's get some coffee in there. Let's get the top on. Lefty and righty, it's rather slippery, meaning I'm not able to tighten it as much as I would want to. It's enough of a lip to get under. I'm not getting a super secure feeling when I'm pushing this lid down to lock it. There's a click there, but it's a pretty subtle click. In terms of usability, I would give this a 4 out of 5. It is very untippable, but because the lid itself doesn't super seal, it is drippable when it's inverted. Let's talk about a redesign. The main selling point of the Mighty Mug is the fact that it has a suction cup, and that part of it works really well. There could be room for improvement on the lid itself. The difference is when you're spinning this, you've got a full hand grip, but when you're putting this on, you're using fingertips. This lip that sticks out could stick out more and maybe even be a bit concave here, so that what you have for the lid is something that your fingers can nest into. Also, probably making this thicker would make some sense so that you're actually pushing against more of a flat surface. The other thing I would redesign, of course, is the fact that the lid doesn't completely seal. That's really important for any travel mug, that it seals when it's closed. So here's the plug, here's the hole. Closing it, that plug fits neatly into the hole. It just doesn't fit tight enough. I think lengthening that plug could help. Maybe even giving some ribs on it so that it really seals, so it's a little bit of a corrugated plug. In terms of a buy rating, I would give the Mighty Mug a 4 out of 5. It is unspillable, it does what it says it does, and it's not going to tip over. Milk Froth Master. Its purpose in life is to create some frothy milk that you can enjoy on top of a hot cup of coffee. Let's see how effective it is. The instructions call for cold 2% milk. I'm going to use that up to the fill line. Let's start frothing. And I'm seeing bubbles start to form. Since my fill line was previously here, now I've got more than double, just a little more than double the volume of milk. The instructions also call for removing the plunger and the cap and microwaving this for about 30 seconds. I microwave the milk for about 30 seconds. Let's get the coffee into place. I am going to do a combination of pouring and scooping. Of course, I'm getting the milk there. Let's scoop out the foam and see what we get. Foam looks pretty thick, so I would say this is pretty successful. Let's try just the foam to start. And yeah, it definitely feels creamy and thick. Let's try a taste. Love the foam, not so much the coffee. Let's see how the Milk Froth Master compares to a more common electric frother. In terms of effectiveness, I would give the Milk Froth Master a 5 out of 5. I think it works surprisingly well. It didn't take long to build up a huge head of foam. It's time for the left-handed oil test. Let's put in some milk up to the line. Let's start pumping. I can feel a little bit more of a struggle with my left hand. I'm just squeezing the ball a little bit harder. Otherwise, there's really no pressure to pumping this. I'm now going to microwave this. I promise I'm going to use my left hand to press the buttons. I'm going to just pour a little bit. Now there's milk boiling through. And in spooning it, I feel like this froth is pretty creamy. I mean, it tastes pretty thick and it looks pretty thick. So I would say success. In terms of usability, I give the Milk Froth Master a 5 out of 5. It was easy to use, lefty or righty. There was really no struggle to using it. So let's talk about a redesign. The one thing I would recommend a bit, maybe I would just come out slightly more with this, just to make it a little more stable. As I was pumping, I thought it was just a little bit rocky. The spout's kind of tiny. This may work for trickling water, but for foam is so thick, it really is going to start pouring over the side. So I would look into the possibility of making this spout a little bit wider and a little more spout-like to handle foam. Every time you see a glass spout, it's pretty unique because of the way they're made. They're not molded, they're actually formed. And because it's molten glass, they may just form just a little bit differently. Next thought about a redesign would be to consider this piece. This round ball has a little ring like Saturn around it. I didn't think that felt right when I was doing a bit of squeezing. The whole shape of this can be rethought because what you're doing is pushing up and down. This shape kind of requires that you pinch it with your fingertips. I think I would make this either a bit larger or change the shape a bit. Maybe I would do some sort of football shape or something a little bit differently shape-wise, so that you can actually get the middle segments of your finger around it, not just fingertips. I would also maybe think about the fact that the action that you're doing here is really two-handed. You're really pushing down here to stabilize it. And because this is rounded, your fingers are falling right off of here. Maybe I would shape this way so it's concave as opposed to convex. And in doing that, I think maybe I would also come out here a little bit more so that it's a little bit more stable when you pick it up. When you pick it up now, you're really on your fingertips on the very edges. It would be great if your fingers can come around it a little more. For a buy rating, I would give the Milk Froth Master a 5 out of 5. I like it. It's a keeper. The other good thing about the Milk Foam Master is that you can use it for hot chocolate, not coffee. Minipresso espresso machine. It is designed to give you a shot of espresso on the go. Let's see how effective it is. This upper part is a cup that snaps off. I'll unscrew this top area, and this area accepts the Nespresso pod. I'm going to first drop in the pod, fill the water part, and let's reassemble. So this is coming back, and I'm going to do this on the table so that I don't splash boiling water. Boy, I don't think this is finding itself. Let me try one more time. That may have been okay. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's tight. I think we're good to go. So this part is the pump that's going to pressurize and shoot the hot water through the pod. Let's try that. I'm going to hold it over the cup. I'm going to give it a number of squeezes. Doesn't happen instantly. Ooh, it's getting a little bit hard to press. Yeah, this takes a bit of work. It's coming out though, but yeah, this takes some force. Let me try a different part of my hand here. Yeah, I'm going to use my palm because this really takes more push than I expected. Okay, I feel like quitting now, but it's still coming out. Can't believe the amount of effort you go through for coffee. Tea bag just sits there. There's no pressure involved. Okay, I think we're done. I think I have a pretty good shot of espresso here. Tastes like what people tell me is a shot of espresso. Let's see how that compares with making a single cup of espresso on the stovetop. In terms of effectiveness, I would give it a 4 out of 5. Final product was fine, but it took a whole lot of work to get there. Time for the left-handed oil test. This first part pops off. That took a little more squeezing because my hand's slippery. I'm going to unscrew this, which also takes a little more squeezing because I don't have the friction that I had before. I need to compensate by squeezing harder. I will drop in the espresso pot. As before, this thread is not catching instantly. There it goes. I'm not getting it tight because my hands are slippery and this is perfectly round and there's nothing to grab onto. There is here, I can push here, but my left hand is being overpowered, so that's the weak link. I'm going to add some water, carefully reattach. Again, I can't tighten this too much with my left hand. Next step is I'm going to release the push part, and that's a little hard to do with a slippery hand. First couple of pumps like before, nothing happens. Now I am feeling it. Yeah, I can hear it, I can feel it. Takes a lot more work than I expected, especially with my left hand. That noise is the Minipresso machine making that noise. It's not me crying, although I feel like it. The end result is fine. It just took a whole lot of work to get there. In terms of usability, I would give it a 2 out of 5. It took a lot more effort than I would have expected. So let's talk about a redesign. So for one thing, if this was just dropped in your lap, you're going to wonder, how do I use this, or even what is this thing? This full black look gives it a sense of purpose. It gives it a sense of seriousness. But still, I think the fact that it can also be confusing is counteracting the benefits of that. This top part, which is the cup, is a separate piece, but there's really nothing clear to indicate where this separates. There's a seam here, but there's also a seam here and a seam here. One way to solve that would be to put some sort of color indicator here to show that this is a break point. This orange circle here, this color break, is exactly the type of thing I'm talking about. Let's talk about the pumping mechanism, which takes a whole lot of pressure. This size and shape is not that conducive to putting that much pressure on your hand. So the surface area is kind of small. I would consider making this bigger. I would make this a little friendlier by making it a bit convex. Get rid of any corners here. To unleash this, it goes from about, I'd say about 12 o'clock to 11 o'clock, so it moves a little bit. I think to make that a little bit easier, I would consider making this an oval. Even with these improvements, I'm not sure mechanically what it would take to make the push force require less force. It makes you appreciate you're an espresso machine. In terms of a buy rating, I would give the Minipresso a 2 out of 5. It takes a lot of effort to operate this. I think a lot of people would be disappointed and a lot of people would actually be incapable of doing it. I don't know, to me it looks like a cross between Darth Vader and a minion. So it has that going for it. So I may not be a fan of coffee, but I've got to say some of these products are beautifully designed. But sorry, I still don't like coffee. They do what they're intended to do in a natural, easy way, and they can be fun to use. If you, unlike me, think that coffee is fun, some of these gadgets could be for you. Just keep them to yourself. It's time to hit the trail, buckaroos.